Yo, 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 it is Brett Curry. Hope everyone is doing fantastic. Happy Tuesday to you. This is session 2 of the Smart Google Traffic training course, and I'm pumped to be here. It is straight up 6 o'clock Eastern, 5 o'clock Central, which is where I am. I'm Central Time, right in the middle. I'm going to give just a minute or two to let some of the stragglers kind of pop in, and then we'll start the recording and be off to the races. I do want to give a quick shout out to my boys at All True here in Springfield, Missouri, branding agency. Check them out if you need branding help. And the reason I'm giving a shout out to All True is because they helped me when I was in a pinch. Today, our office, we lost Wi-Fi. So we're an online marketing company. The Wi-Fi goes down, not a good combination. So about 3:45, no Wi-Fi. We send all our employees home. We got a team of 20. There's actually 14 of us here in Springfield, Mo. So we send everybody out. The repair guy comes and he's like, yeah, it's going to be a while. So this is now 4:10, so like 40 minutes ago. And so I texted my buddy Jesse Tyler and I said, Jesse, can I come and present at your office? And he said, sure. So big thanks to Jesse and Gio and the boys at All True. So anyway, really excited about this webinar. Going to be good stuff. If you enjoyed session 1, I think you'll really enjoy session 2, because if I'm being honest, session 1 was just tough because all the setup, all the like filling out of forms, it's all necessary. You got to do it. It's the groundwork, but it's not my favorite part. Well, hello, and officially you are welcome to the session 2 of the Smart Google Traffic training course. I am your co-host, and tonight your host, Brett Curry. Really excited that you guys could make it. I'm having a ton of fun with this training course so far and really looking forward to the training session tonight. If you enjoyed session 1, which I know some of you may not have loved it because it's all the technical kind of nitty-gritty stuff, I think session 2 is going to be a lot more fun. It will still be a lot of how to set up campaigns, how to set up remarketing lists, but we're going to get into the fun stuff, the action tonight, which I'm pretty pumped about. So a couple of things that I want to cover here as we get started. So Ezra could not make it tonight. That handsome fella on the left, all of you know that is Ezra Firestone, and he actually, this is his, and Colleen, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is Ezra and Carrie's 10-year dating anniversary. Is that right? The 10-year anniversary. Yeah. So momentous occasion. So Ezra and Carrie are doing something fun. If it had been anything else, of course, he wouldn't have missed this training. He would have been here with you, but he is off celebrating his 10-year dating anniversary. So you get me, and I'm Brett Curry, the dude on the right there. And so if you did miss session 1, I'll give you just a really quick background, and then we'll dive into the training. And so I started really working in the marketing space in the early 2000s, TV, radio, print, and then got into SEO in 2004, and then that kind of blew up from there. So a lot of SEO, started doing Google paid search shortly thereafter. Fast forward to today, we've got a team of about 20. We're a Google Premier Partner, so we're in the top 3% of all Google partners. Last year, we were in the top 1 or 2 fastest growing Google Premier Partner agencies, which is cool. We get access to some new Google betas, some new Google programs that others don't get access to. I get to go to partner events and things like that. And so pretty cool stuff. We also, my team and I, run the Google traffic for Ezra and Boom. And so we'll be showing a lot of examples from Boom tonight, of course, and digging into that. So first, before we dive into the content, the ground rules for tonight, just a reminder to everybody that's on the podcast, or I'm sorry, I podcast too, so I'm used to saying podcast. But for everybody that is part of this training, you are part of the beta program, and I love the way we've got this structured. So as a member of the beta program, you get to have influence on how we shape and modify this training when it officially rolls out. So a couple benefits to you. One, you get the live training now. You don't have to wait until March when the official course comes out. So you get the training now. There'll be a live Q&A at the end of this session, so save up your questions. You can fire them off as we go. I may see them. I will warn you, though, I may not, but we will have a dedicated Q&A time at the end, and so we'll cover that. There won't be a live Q&A when the official course comes out, so you guys get that bonus right now. And then your input will help us shape the final rollout, and then you'll get access to that training in March. So you'll get full access to that training once it's available. So super excited that you're part of the beta, and it's a pretty cool setup. I want to review something really quickly and just make sure we're on the same page as to why this training program exists and what we're trying to do. So we like to think in terms of shopping funnels and shopping behavior. So when you're attracting new customers, what is the process they're going to go through before they purchase, right? And so we like to think about, and this is a little bit simplistic, but I think it works, these 3 stages, for someone going from not knowing about you to actually purchasing. And those 3 stages are awareness, evaluation, and decision. And so I know for a lot of people in Ezra's group, that awareness stage, that is driven by Facebook. So you've got some robust video campaigns on Facebook. Hopefully you're using Ezra's Facebook training course. And so maybe someone is introduced to your brand via Facebook. Maybe it's via Amazon. They become aware of you. Then the next step, a lot of people don't buy on that first exposure, that first visit to your website or the first time they hear about you. And so then they may get into kind of an evaluation mode where they say, hey, I want to look at your hoodie versus some other hoodies on the market and see really which I prefer. And so then they're kind of in this evaluation stage, and then finally they move through to decision. And so the key is we want to be everywhere that our customers are. So wherever they're shopping, wherever they're looking, we want to be available. And most people aren't going to purchase on that first visit. It's something like 97% or more don't purchase on that first visit. So we need to be available to get them back. So this is ultimately leveraging everything Google has for us, all the Google channels, for remarketing purposes and for brand campaigns, just getting that exposure we need to get our customers back, to close the loop, to get them to convert. And so our guarantee to you is that if you run the campaigns, if you structure your campaigns the way we show here, they will absolutely work. We do have some bonuses, which I'm already geeking out about. I'm ready for the bonuses. We will talk about prospecting using Google traffic, or top of funnel is usually what we call it, using Google traffic, and that has a ton of upside. It is a little bit risky in that it's not necessarily guaranteed to work, and there's a margin of error there, and it's a little bit tricky in some ways. We will talk about how to do that and how to do that well. But this is all about getting our remarketing in place through search, shopping, display remarketing, of course, YouTube, getting that all built out, and man, this stuff absolutely works. It works super well for Boom. We'll continue to show you results from Boom and a few other campaigns as well. So let's talk a little bit about the display network. So this is the Google Display Network. These are display ads. We're all about display remarketing tonight and making this work for you. And so why consider the Google Display Network? It covers 90% plus of the web. So 90% of internet users worldwide will be reached through the Google Display Network. So it's a collection of sites, a lot of news sites, sports sites, things like that allow Google to place ads on them. And it's something like 2 million sites. So if you look at Facebook and the Google Display Network, between those two, you can essentially reach everybody you would ever want to reach, all of your prospective customers. Anybody you ever want to do business with, you can reach through those 2 platforms. And so using the Google Display Network is kind of a no-brainer. And so we're going to dive in tonight in how to do that and how to do that well. So here's what we're going to look at. Here's kind of the breakdown of our topics for tonight. First, we're going to look at the top 4 remarketing lists to target. Just want to make a quick note, the cheat sheet for Module 1. So, Module 1 was a lot of, hey, here's how to create this account and how to link it to that account. We do have a cheat sheet for Module 1. Colleen and team put that in the members area. So if you go to the members area, look at Module 1. There is a link to that cheat sheet download. And Colleen, what did we call that cheat sheet again, so folks know what to be looking for?
There is a green button right under the Module 1 video that says Download Cheat Sheet. So I believe that's what it's called. Yep.
I think that's clear as it can be. So check that out. We will have something similar for most of these sessions. just so you've got that to review and look at. Obviously, the recordings will be available. I'm going to go step by step through a lot of this tonight as we go through it. But we're going to look at those top 4 remarketing lists to target and the campaigns that go with them. So how to create the campaigns and what lists to attach to campaigns. Got 4 remarketing campaigns plus a bonus. I think you're going to like the bonus. It's something that's worked very, very well for Boom, and so we're going to lay that out there so you can capitalize on that. Then we're going to talk about bidding strategies. So, the creating of the campaigns, it's only part of it, right? You got to have the right bidding strategies. So how much are you willing to pay for clicks from these campaigns? The way these campaigns work inside of Google AdWords is you do pay by the click. Even though it's display, you're still paying per click. And so we'll break down a couple of bidding strategies, one that everyone will kind of need to start with, and then 2 bidding strategies that I love that you can kind of graduate to as you get more traffic and more data and more conversions. Then we're going to look at 4 steps to killer display ads. So, even if you have all the technical stuff right, the right list, the right campaigns, the right bidding strategy, if your ad sucks, you're going to be at a disadvantage. And so we're going to talk about, hey, here are 4 steps to create a killer display ad that people click and people respond to and people convert. And so we're going to dive into that as well. And then finally, measuring success. How do we know if this is working, what's working, and then tweaking things based on the results we see. So quick look at what we're going to do here, what we're going to cover. And so let's dive right in. So here are our lists that we're going to talk about creating, and these are the 4 lists that you should target. There are other options as well, but these are kind of the foundational 4. If you have these lists, you can then build upon it and do a lot with it. So the first one is obvious, all visitors, right? That's just anybody that's ever been to your site. This is important, especially in the beginning. So if your site doesn't have a ton of visitors, if you've got less than 10,000 visitors a month or thereabouts, you're going to probably need that all visitors list to get enough of a list to actually be meaningful and to have someone to target. Once your lists grow and once you expand, then maybe that all visitors list you can kind of push to the side and then just focus on the really engaged visitors, the engaged users that you want to target more, that are more likely to convert. But in the beginning, you probably need to start with all visitors. We're gonna dive in and show you how to create that. Just a quick recap of last time here in a minute. Cart visitors, so anybody that's been to your cart, we're going to look at that list. That is almost always the top converting list that we see. Then we're going to look at smart lists, and this is something we kind of previewed last time, but a smart list is a really cool feature. This is something that Google does automatically. But Google Analytics looks at the behavior of the people on your site, and they build a smart list, and that's a group of people that Google feels like are the most likely to convert next. So on their next visit to your site, Google feels like those are the visitors that are going to convert. So this is kind of Google seeing through its crystal ball. These are the people they think are going to buy on their next purchase. So as you can imagine, that's a pretty good list to target with ads to get them to come back. And then finally, purchasers. Obviously, those are people that are buyers. And there's a few reasons why we would target those people, which we'll talk about in the campaign portion. But we're going to want to create all of these lists inside of Google Analytics. So let's actually pop over to Google Analytics and we'll take a look at this. Hey, getting some love on session 1. Thanks, dude. Glad you liked session 1. Not everybody digs into the super technical stuff, but glad you did. That's awesome. Actually, 1 second here. Okay, so let's pop over to Google Analytics and take a look at how do we create these lists. Okay, so you're going to want to click on the admin portion of Analytics, and I'm going to zoom in here just a bit, make sure you guys can see this. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start over, I'm already in the admin section, but I'm going to start over so you can see it clearly. Click on admin. This is what's going to pop up. Get your account, property, and view settings here. And so you create your lists in the property column here. So if you go property, audience definitions, click on audiences, and then here are our lists. Oh, and by the way, one other quick fun thing about this beta group is you also get to experience any you get like the behind the scenes thing. So for those that have not watched the video, you got to go back and watch the video for session 1 because we did have a snafu in the beginning. We had to transition from GoToWebinar to Zoom, which was fun and entertaining. And then Ezra shared a great story of his original crash and burn with his very first webinar. So you got to go and check out that. I'm really confident that's not going to happen tonight, but hey, another bonus of being part of the beta, you get to see kind of the fun stuff like that. So when you get here to the audience section, this is where you can create a new audience. This all users is one of the options. Sometimes it's already created for you. But what we're going to do is you'll click on this plus new audience. You can see I've already created some audiences here. When you click that, there's going to be some recommended audiences. And this is where you can just go in, click the all users. There's one or two other steps and just set that up super easy. Smart lists, this option should be here as well. So you can just click on that and create the smart list. Let's talk about talk about how to create that visited cart list. So people that have visited your cart, that's a group we really want to target. And so let's talk about how to create that right now. So we're going to look at this option right here, users who visited a specific section of my site. So we're going to click on that. And then we're going to adjust these conditions here. So right now, this is basically anybody who's visited any page, because just / and then blank. So we're going to want to edit that. And then here's what we do. So page contains, and then we're going to start typing here. We're going to get some options pop up. There we go, cart. Now, you could also, if you wanted to, and there are a couple of different thought processes here, you can set this up where it's people that have visited the cart, but also those that have not visited your confirmation page. So you could add it to where someone has not visited the thank you page as an example. So I'll show you how to do that. You could also do someone then that is not visited the thank you page. Oh, and actually, my bad. You do that down here with a filter. So we add a filter, and then we look at, we want to eliminate the thank you page. And actually, now I've got this on a screenshot. So I've got this in a I typically just look at anybody who's visited the cart, and I err on the side of this list being a little bit larger. You may want to refine it a little bit. I do have a screenshot that I'll share that shows how to then layer in anybody who has visited the thank you page, take them off of the list, right? But let's just create this list for now, because this is how we typically do it. And so this is anybody that's visited the cart page. We're going to click apply. And then this is where we can set up the membership duration. Okay, so over the last 7 days, it gives us a preview here. 9,600 people have visited the cart page. I like to, and Ezra's the same way, look at 7-day, 14-day, 30-day. That's typically what we look at. And so then we're going to call this cart visitors 7-day, and then click on next step. And there we go. Then audience destination, we're going to have to send that to AdWords, right? That we're going to want to make that available in AdWords. So this is where you want to have your AdWords and analytics linked. I will say though, when you get to this part, if you've not already linked AdWords and analytics, it'll prompt you to do that right here. So you can actually do that right here, link the two, and then you're off to the races. So that's that list, and we're going to click publish. I would then go through and do the same thing. So same exact steps, just creating the 14-day and the 30-day list as well. So then that way you've got cart visitors 7-day, cart visitors 14-day, cart visitors 30-day. You could look at 90. Typically though, 7, 14, 30, that's usually where we like to live and where we like to focus. So now that audience is created, now we can target that as well. And so now, we've got most of our lists here that we need. Again, the all users and the smart list, super easy to create. The purchasers list, I will show you one more time how to create that. And so if we go here to new audiences, then we're going to want to look at anyone who's completed a transaction. And I do actually have this in the cheat sheet for module 1, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on it, but this is how you go ahead and go in and create that purchasers list. Okay, so now that we've got our lists for those that have visited the cart, now we can start looking at campaigns and what we'd like to do there. So Going back here to the presentation, pop over here real quick. Here are the campaigns we want to create. So now we're going to spend some time in Google AdWords looking at how to actually craft these campaigns, what's going to go into these campaigns, so what lists we want to look at, and then how these are going to be structured. So the first campaign we're going to look at is just what you call a standard remarketing campaign. So this is where you've got either a static display ad, or you may use the ad builder that Google AdWords provides. And so, but you're targeting some of your remarketing lists. And so in this scenario, we'll spend some time on this in just a minute. We're going to break down your ad groups by list. And so each ad group is going to have a different list to target. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on dynamic remarketing. Mainly, though, that is going to be part of the Google Shopping session, which I think is session 3. And so we'll talk more about dynamic remarketing when we talk Google Shopping, because dynamic remarketing is dependent on a feed. So you have to have a product feed before dynamic remarketing works. And dynamic remarketing, that is the ad format where whatever product someone looked at on your site in their last visit, that's the product that's going to be in the remarketing ad. Very powerful. Works in most cases, or a few cases where it's not optimal, but we'll talk about that a lot in session 3. We're going to look at monthly specials. So this is really interesting, and this is something that we found a lot of merchants don't think about and don't plan for. But looking at your remarketing lists almost like you would your email lists. So treating your remarketing lists like the asset that they are, so that when you've got something new coming out for the holidays, or it's springtime and you're featuring a new backpack or a new pellet grill or something like that, you can use your remarketing list just like you would an email list. So use it to make a big announcement, use it to do a product focus or a product feature, use it for some big event or some big sale. So obviously when you're doing Cyber Monday or Black Friday, which just passed, but if you're running that, you want to hit your remarketing list for that. So creating these monthly special campaigns, and those are often going to be short-lived, going to have a finite window of opportunity, and then those are going to be paused and maybe resurface later. But the standard remarketing and dynamic remarketing, those are usually just evergreen. They're ongoing. We're likely going to be adjusting bids and testing and tweaking a few things as we go, but those are going to be ongoing. Monthly specials, that's going to be just whenever it makes sense, right? And then the other piece is upsell offers. So we'll get into this. There's a couple of ways you can look at this, but this is where, hey, we're going to take that purchasers list, someone who has bought from our site, and now we're going to offer them something else, right? So now we're going to offer them, hey, you enjoyed this product, try this product, and give this a shot. Very similar then to another concept which we'll talk about in a minute, called bought X but not Y. So here's what this is going to look like. We are going to break down your ad groups by list. So ad groups will be named and labeled by your remarketing list, which I'm going to pop over to AdWords in like 2 seconds and show you that. And then we usually want a couple of ads per ad group for rotating and testing and looking at different offers, different headlines, which we'll talk about towards the end of the presentation, what makes for a killer ad here in just a minute. But let's pop over to AdWords and see where the magic happens here. So 1 second. So here we are. We're in the Boom AdWords account, and now we're going to create our first remarketing campaign. And so we're going to go here. I'm showing this in the legacy AdWords interface. When we do the official course, I'm going to have most all of this in the new version of AdWords, because that is going to be forced on us. A lot of module 1 I showed you in the new interface. There's a few features for display remarketing that are way better, way easier. There's even one feature that's almost impossible in the new interface. So I'm going to show you in the old one. You can always pop back and forth, but you're going to want to build it in the old interface for now. That's my recommendation anyway. So we're going to go here. We're going to click on plus campaign. Now what we're creating today in this session is display remarketing. So we're going to select display network only. That's our campaign type. So display network only. It's going to give us some options. What are our goals? What do we want people to do here? This doesn't matter a whole lot because you're going to get lots of options to tweak this in a minute. I'm going to show you exactly what to do, but go ahead and select that our goal is for people to buy on your site. So That's what we're going to look at. We're going to call this standard remarketing test. If I could type, that'd be great. Standard remarketing test. And then we are not going to choose a smart campaign. This is where Google kind of figures a lot of things out for you. And we're beginning to test this. It looks kind of interesting. It's kind of in the beginning, you know, as it says here, it's beta. I wouldn't really focus on that at this point in time. Some of these options are likely going to want to leave what it gives you. So United States as an option, if that is you. If it's other countries, then you can pick language, whatever you want to pick there. Now, because Boom has so much data, Google's actually recommending we look at a target CPA as our bidding model. And so what that means that Google will look at all of your conversions. They'll look at your data, they'll look at who's purchased, you know, what their online behavior is and things like that. And then they're going to monitor the performance of your campaign, and they're going to adjust bids for you to reach your target CPA. So you'll be paying a cost per click, but Google's going to be changing those bids for you to try to reach your CPA target. Now, there's another kind of related type of bidding called target ROAS, or target return on ad spend, and that's where you give Google a goal, a return on ad spend goal. Let's say it's a 3 ROAS, or 300% is another way you'd say that. And that just means, Google, for every dollar we spend, we want to see 3 in sales, or $3 in conversion value. I do like both of those targeting options. However, you're not going to be able to start with those most likely. Google wants you to have 15 conversions in there, you know, recorded via analytics before this really works. So if you're just starting, if you're just kind of building all this, just putting it all together, you're going to need to go manual CPC. So we're going to go ahead and choose that now, choose manual CPC. In terms of your budget, this is up to you. You know, if you're just getting started, you don't have a huge, you know, remarketing list, you're not going to need a lot. You know, even as low as $10 or $25 a day should be fine. I'm just going to go 25. You know, with a site like Boom and tons of traffic, we can actually spend a lot here. But I'm just going to start with $25. Some of these additional settings, I'll go ahead and cover those just to kind of give you a heads up. The delivery method, leave this at standard for display ads. This just means that, you know, whatever your daily budget is, Google's going to kind of try to spread that out over the course of the day so you don't run out of your budget, you know, like at 8 a.m. as an example. There's a few other campaigns, Google Shopping namely, where we actually want accelerated, but not here. For display, we like to go standard and leave that. I do like to look at frequency capping. This is a little bit your call based on how aggressive you want to be, but often we want to set frequency capping. You know, we want to be persistent. We want to show our ads to people that have visited and not purchased, but we don't want to bug someone to the point that they hate us. And so frequency capping is something we like to look at. And so a lot of times we'll choose like 3 per day, or something like, you know, 10 to 15 per week. And so that's how I'll set this up. It's 15 viewable impressions per week. You can tweak this. This is set at the campaign level and not at the ad group level. And so that's important to note, is that frequency caps are set at the campaign level. But I'm going to go and do 15 viewable impressions per week. If you want to be a little more aggressive, go 25, go 30, or leave it at no cap. That's up to you. But we do like to set that cap. Now, when we get into dynamic remarketing, and again, that'll be in session 3 because we got to look at shopping feeds, and this goes hand in hand with the Google Shopping session, so we'll really dive into it there. But this is where you set up dynamic ads. So if this is going to be our dynamic remarketing campaign, I would just click this check mark here, and that's going to enable the dynamic product insertion, so that whatever products someone saw on your website, those are the products that are actually in the ad. Now again, the setup here is easy. It's more about having the product feed in Merchant Center, which we'll get into in session 3. I'm gonna leave that unchecked because that's not what this campaign is all about. So that's really all we need on this part. So we're gonna go ahead and click Save and Continue. And now we're gonna create our first ad group. Okay, so this is where we're going to name this based on the list that we're targeting. So we're going to come in here and just call this cart visitors, right? And I'm going to name the list. So It's possible you could create one ad group that targets multiple lists. I like to separate it where it's just one list per ad group, and I'll tell you why. I like to be able to look at a view that we'll look at in just a minute, where you can dig into a campaign, see all the ad groups. You'll see those ad groups by name, and you can see the performance. And then you can adjust bids, you can pause, you can adjust, and I think it's just a little bit cleaner that way. And so that's how we're going to do it. In the beginning, when you're looking at, what should I bid? What's my max CPC? Ideally in the beginning, we just want to bid to a point where you get the impression, right? We want you to get the exposure. You've got to have the opportunity for your ad to show up so that someone can click on it. And if you bid too low here, you could be kind of quarantined to the bottom of pages or kind of undesirable portions of pages. So I like to bid a little more aggressively here in the beginning. You can always lower it later, and you may want to lower it later, but often we're going to be in the $1 to $2 per click range. I'm just going to put in $1 there. Don't have to put in your URL here. You'll do that when you create your ad. But this is the critical step right here. Choose how to target your ads. Oh, I didn't put, I'm going to put 7 days there. So I'm going to do interest in remarketing. That's what I'm going to select. And then from here, you're going to choose your remarketing lists. So scroll down, choose remarketing lists. And now we're going to look at all the lists. Now, Boom has a boatload of lists, and there's another list or two I'm going to show you how to create in just a minute. But here's the list we want to target. Now, I just created this. That's why it's showing nobody, because I just created it, literally on the webinar and then posted it. So that's going to take 24 hours to populate. For the sake of this, I'm going to choose this. So that you may wonder, hey, why is there another list named visited cart 7 days? This is actually using an AdWords remarketing list. So this list was generated using the AdWords remarketing tag. Now, the reason I showed you, just to reemphasize something I mentioned in Module 1, I really like, especially in the beginning, just use Google Analytics to create your remarketing lists. It's way easier. It's one set of code. You don't have to add in the AdWords remarketing code and then keep track of everything and worry if it gets dropped off or whatever. Everybody needs Google Analytics, and so using Google Analytics, I think, if you're just starting, is easier. But anyway, this is a list created by Google AdWords. So we'll go ahead and pop that in there. And so here you go. So now this is going to start giving you, hey, some estimates. This is giving you total impressions. It is just targeting interest in remarketing, and it's using that list. So now we got our list. If you did want to narrow it further, so let's say you've got only a decent size all visitors list. Some of these other lists are not really populated, so you don't have the cart list to a size where it's really going to be very valuable. Smart lists are still populating, something like that. You may want to take that all visitors list and then just refine it a little bit more. So you could take it and refine this by demographics. So add this, then we can look at placements, demographics, things like that. We'll get into display keywords, topics, and placements more in the bonus module as we look at how to use this for prospecting. But in this case, you may want to layer in demographics. Now, in this case, I probably don't. Like if someone's been to the cart, they've taken that step to be in the cart section of my site, add something there, and that's pretty good enough for me, right? I'm not going to worry about demographics on top of that. But again, if you're going all visitors or something that's a little larger list, you want to just kind of refine it, you can layer in demographics there. I am going to uncheck this. So if you look at that, it says let AdWords automatically find new customers. Now, I don't want AdWords to find new customers. I want them to target my remarketing list, right? That's what this campaign is all about. When we go top of funnel, then we'll consider this. There's some options to look at there. I'm going to go ahead and uncheck that. And then once that is done, I'm going to click on save, and bada bing, that campaign is ready. Now I'm just going to get into creating the ads. I'm actually not going to show the ad creation process. We're going to circle back to that in a minute. But this is where you can either create ads using this builder. So you just follow these steps, add images, add your headline, description, your final URL, things like that. And then you'll get to see this awesome little preview here. So that is an option. Or you can upload an image ad, and go from there. And so I'll actually walk through, hey, this is what makes for a great ad, an ad that people are going to click on and respond to. We'll get into that in just a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and skip ad creation for now. And then now we've got our ad group. Now we got our campaign. So here we go. We're standard remarketing test. That is our campaign. And here we have our ad group. So this is, again, this is the view that I was talking about a little bit ago, where, so now we've got our standard remarketing. Now we're going to have ad groups layered in by remarketing list. So I've got my cart visitors 7 days, I got my cart visitors 14 days, got my cart visitors 30 days, I've got my all list, I've got my smart list, and then anything else that I want to layer in. But those are the main things. Those are the main lists to add to this particular campaign. And now we can see performance. So this is also where you can kind of adjust the bid as you go. So, you know, like I said, I want to bid a little bit high in the beginning just to get the impression, get the exposure, and get the click. But as we start to see performance, then we're going to want to adjust the bid potentially from there. So that's how we create that particular remarketing campaign. And I want to pop back to Keynote just really quickly, and then we'll go back to AdWords in just a second. So do want to rotate 2 to 3 ads per ad group. You want to look at what is performing, what's not performing. I'll show you some metrics and ways to measure that in just a minute. And then I do want to talk about this list. This is bought X but not Y. This has been very, very successful for Ezra's campaigns, and so I want to walk through this. This is similar. You could do something similar for an upsell campaign, and so these two are kind of related. So I'll kind of combine these. But let's look at bought X but not Y. And actually, just to circle back really quickly, the monthly specials remarketing campaign, that's going to be the same setup that we just walked through. The only difference is you're going to set delivery dates, right, to where it's going to start on this date, end on this date, based on when you're having your sales, and then your ads are going to be very tailored to the specific offers. Now, I still like to, if this even as a monthly special, give you some examples in a minute, but we got a client that sells coffee. They had a big push for the pumpkin spice latte, as we know. I'm a coffee junkie. I will say I'm a bit of a coffee purist. I do prefer the unflavored coffee, but some people go nuts for the pumpkin spice latte, pumpkin spice coffee. So we did a huge push for them on Google Display Network just in October. So funny, I guess I should have guessed this, but October they sell a ton of pumpkin spice related stuff. And then once you get into November, it dies off. Then it moves all to like Christmas flavors and stuff like that. But in that case, then we created a monthly specials campaign. We still broke down ad group was by remarketing list, and then we just had our ads in there. And so I'll actually show you some of the ads we ran for that campaign. But then upsell offers and bought X, not Y, those are similar. So let's pop over to AdWords and talk about those just a little bit. So, okay, another really important part of AdWords you need to be very familiar with, and that is the shared library. And so if we click on the shared library, you're always going to be able to find it here, kind of in the lower left on the old interface. I'll actually show you the new interface just so you can get used to that. So as the new interface loads here, click on this toolbar, or I'm sorry, that's not a toolbar, that's like an actual tool, looks like a wrench. So click on the wrench here, shared library, this section, and then it's going to be audience manager. But like I mentioned, actually the features for this campaign, the features of this campaign are really only available in the old AdWords interface, at least right now. Google's adding new stuff to the new interface all the time, so it'll probably be here soon, but for today, we need to be in the legacy version of AdWords. So we'll go back there, click on our shared library, and then we're going to look at audiences. Okay, so think about this. The shared library is just like a collection of stuff that you can then assign to other campaigns. So a collection of data, shared budgets, bid strategies, things like that you can put here, negative keyword lists even, they can be shared amongst campaigns. And so anyway, that's what the shared library is all about, but all we care about really for this discussion is audiences. So we're going to click here on audiences, look at all the audiences we have as that loads. So here we go. We got tons and tons of audiences that we've created for Boom. It's kind of nice. You can see the list size here. So you can see how many people you're eligible to reach in the search, YouTube, or display. So that's pretty ginormous, right? If you look at all site visitors, 180 days, 3.9 million that we could reach through the display network if we wanted to. That's not a good list, right? For you, if you've got a lot less traffic than what Boom has, then maybe it is a good idea to focus on this. But you know, for Boom, that's not a great list to look at. I want to get much more targeted with the lists. So, okay, here's what we're going to want to do. I want to talk about these combo lists. So first, we want to look at creating a list of people that have visited a particular product page. Okay, so this is available. You can do this in analytics, but I've got some of these already created for sake of time. I'm just going to show you what they look like when they're built. So we're going to go here to plus remarketing lists. This we're going to build our list for bought X but not Y. So this is still a website visitor list. Okay, so we clicked on website visitor list. Now instead of visitors to a page, we're going to look at custom combinations. This is kind of combining different lists. So here we're going to do, this is going to be, we'll go ahead and do bought but not cotton. And so this is bought but not Boom cotton. So what this means is we're going to do any of this. So the first step is any of these audiences. I'm going to select the audience. We're going to look at converted. And for this one, we'll just do converted in 90 days. We'll go for a little bit bigger list. Converted in 90 days, click OK. Now we could stack in other lists, and in fact, I think we will. Let's just do all the converted lists, why not? So we'll do all these. So basically what this is saying is we'll take, if anybody is on any of these lists, then they're eligible. Okay, so we'll click on OK. And on none of these audiences. So we're saying, hey, they have to be a converter. They have to be someone who's purchased, but I want nobody from these other lists. And these are lists you'd have to create. I've already created them, so it's easy to kind of show here. But this is someone who's visited the Boom Cotton page. So what we're saying here is I want someone who's purchased, but not if they visited the Boom Cotton page. Now, this may not be 100% accurate. You know, it's possible if you're using one-click upsells or something where someone may purchase a product, add it to their cart without ever visiting the product detail page, but it's not likely. It doesn't happen. I mean, it's not in most cases. And as of right now, Google doesn't allow you to say, hey, if someone actually bought this specific product, don't target them. So that's not an option. This is as close as we can get. So we're going to go ahead and add this. So someone that's visited the Boom Cotton page. So again, just to reiterate what we did here, we're saying anybody who's on any of these converted lists and they're not on this list, visited the Boom Cotton list. Now we can add a description here if we want to. This may just be for future reference or for someone else. You have someone else managing your campaign so they know what it's all about. I already have this list, so I'm not going to save it, but I would just click save and then it would be ready to go. And so this is a super powerful list. So now what we can do is with that list, we can create a campaign, create ad groups, you know, to target that list, and then we just run Boom Cotton ads, right? Because these are people that we know they've bought. We know they love Cindy Joseph. We know they've bought a product. Now let's get them to try Boom Cotton. And so super powerful. We also use something very similar with the video display, or I'm sorry, video remarketing campaigns. That I believe is module 4, that's one of my favorite modules. It's going to be awesome. Going to blow your mind, I think. We'll use this similar targeting for one of our YouTube remarketing campaigns, and so we'll look at that as well. And so let's go back here to our keynote presentation. So those are our remarketing campaigns. Again, we'll have some screenshots here. I'll go back and answer any questions here in a minute. And actually, I may see if there's any relevant questions for right now. Yeah, and someone mentioned it's redundant. You know, I added the 90-day, 7-day, 14-day. They should all be in the 90-day, but it just takes a second to add them. So just in case, I often add, you know, just all of the converters list. But yeah, you should only need to do the one. How much daily should you spend if you have 1,000 visitors? That's going to vary. What I often recommend is if you only got 1,000 visitors, I guess it depends on how often they're visiting, or if that's 1,000 over the course of the month, 1,000 a day, big difference. But I mean, you can start with as little as 10 to 15 a day, and just go from there. Um, yeah, and so one other thing, and I'm going to pop back to the presentation. We'll get back to Q&A in just a minute. You do need 1,000 people on a list before you can target it. And so that's where we go back to, hey, if you're just getting started, you need that all visitors list, because that may be the first thing you're eligible to target in the beginning. But then as you get these huge lists, you have lists that are the size of Boom, then you can really be segmented and targeted. But yeah, each list has to have 1,000 people on it, or you can't actually target with it. So important to keep that in mind as well. And so let's talk a little bit about bidding. So we did talk about manual CPCs. For most of you, you're going to need to start here. Like I said, for target ROAS or target CPA, you need to have at least 15 conversions in the last 30 days. Google ideally wants even more than that, but if you got 15 in the last 30 days, then you are eligible to look at that. And so that's what you want to do. Here's what I would recommend. So here's kind of a tip on bidding. So when you're initially testing, right, I want to look at click-through rate initially. Okay, so click-through rate, for those who don't know, that's the percentage of people that see the ad that actually click on the ad. Now, for display remarketing, these numbers can be all over the board. I'll show you some actual numbers from Boom in just a minute, but usually these are sub 1%, sub 1% click-through rate. For search ads, that would be terrible. For display, pretty common. So often it's under 0.26%. If you're pushing the 1%, you're likely to get an ad that people are in love with on the display network. But you want to think about CTR in the beginning. And so this is one of those early indicators. If I'm testing different ads, so I've got this one ad group, I'm testing different ad copy, I want to consider the CTR. So maybe we're just 20, 30, 40 clicks in, maybe not a lot of conversion data just yet. I'm going to start looking at that CTR and seeing which ad is performing over others, and that may weigh my decision on how to bid and things like that. But then once you start getting enough clicks where you should have a conversion, then you want to start adjusting based on conversions. So typically that's going to be under 100 clicks, right? So I'm guessing your conversion rate is 1% or higher. Hopefully it will be a little bit higher than that. E-commerce average is 1 to 3%. But if it's 1%, then for every 100 visitors you get, you should get at least one conversion. So if you got 100 clicks and no conversions, and you want to start adjusting your bids down and looking at other things to adjust as you go. But that, like I said, I also like to look at click-through rate, especially in the beginning, just to kind of see, hey, what ads resonating with people? What are they liking? Ultimately, all that matters is conversions, right? If I've got one ad that has a really high CTR and a low conversion rate, and then I've got another ad that has a low CTR but a high conversion rate, I'll take the conversions. But looking at CTR is at least an indicator of what people like or don't like. And so let's dive in here. Let's spend some time on how to build killer ads. So how to make an ad that people want to click on, that's going to bring them back to the site and hopefully get them to convert. And so 4 steps here, 4 elements, if you will, of a killer display ad. First one, powerful headline. Headline is arguably the most important part of any ad. We'll look at some examples in just a second. An arresting image, or an image that's going to grab someone's attention. So you'll see in a minute some ads from Boom where it's the same headline but different image, and the different image made a huge difference on the actual click-through and the conversions. The offer, so you're going to want some kind of offer. Is it a discount of some kind? Is it just an event that's coming up? Is it something new? What is the offer? And then you got to have a call to action. So a call to action button, it's either going to say, learn more, shop now, save now, things like that. So really we prefer to go relatively simple when it comes to the call to action. If you're having, I think you can run into a situation here where you try to get too creative. I'm going to make my button say something that no other button says, right? I'm going to think outside the box and be creative. You probably don't want to do that, right? That's not something you need to do right now. Just stick to stuff that's tried and true. So shop now, learn more, save now, things like that for your call to action button. So here's some top ad sizes. Again, this will be available. You can view this in the replay, but also cheat sheet. But 300 by 250, if you were just to create one size, that would be the size. That size, that 300 by 250, gets more impressions than any other size in almost every case. It usually has more clicks, more conversions. It's just kind of the most common size. So let's say you opt to have a designer create your remarketing ads, and you want to just start with one just for ease and to start testing. Start with that size. You can build out these other sizes as well. They're not going to get as many clicks or impressions, but 160 by 600, 728 by 90, and 320 by 50. Or you can use that ad builder. We saw kind of the beginning of that in AdWords. When you do that, when you use that ad builder, you're writing a headline, you're choosing your description, you're choosing your final URL, you're adding an image. And what's cool about that builder is you can either add an image from your site, or you can upload an image, and then Google's going to show you a preview of, hey, we're building this ad for you now. You gave us the input, we're building this ad. You can look at it and decide if you want to tweak it or if it's good to go. But those are the top ad sizes. Now let's talk about headlines and how do we write a headline that really works. This isn't a copywriting course, right? This is about setting up campaigns that are successful. But I think it's important. It's important that we at least look at this. How do we write a headline that's actually going to get someone to take action? And so here are 4 types that I would suggest. First one is top benefits. This is where you lead with what's the most compelling benefit. If I had to list here my top 3 to 5 benefits, but what's the one? Like, what's the one benefit that if I were to survey 100 customers, what's the one benefit that most of them would claim is the reason or the thing they're looking for with your product? So top benefit, something that evokes curiosity, right? Something that piques curiosity where someone says, man, I gotta check that out. I gotta see what that is. I gotta see what that thing is. So this could be a how-to or a tip, or I'll show you some examples in a minute. Then, a big offer. So maybe I'm having this huge sale, I'm having this huge event. Maybe this is something that's only available to certain people. So I got this big offer, right? So since this is a remarketing list, we could do like a customer-only sale and make that available through these remarketing ads, or it could be news, right? And so let's actually look at some examples here. So this is a combo of big offer and news. This is a client of mine, Door County Coffee, out of Door County, Wisconsin. Awesome people. If you want some flavored coffee, got to check these guys out. They do a great job. But these are some of the ads we created for pumpkin spice time, and people go nuts for pumpkin spice. So this is kind of a combination of news and big offer because, one, it's 17% off. And as a side note, many of you probably know, but odd numbers do better than even numbers. So if we did 15% off or 10% off, that wouldn't be as effective as 17% off. Just feels different, stands out a little bit more, makes people wonder, why are you giving that discount? It just works. It gets people to click and take action. It's also news because pumpkin spice, it's here, it's available now, and so it's got kind of a news angle as well. So big offer plus news. Here's one that was very successful. This is for a client of ours, BJJ Fanatics, awesome guys, Bernardo and Michael and crew. And so this was looking at top benefit plus curiosity, so a little bit of both. So this was for we targeted their email list. We targeted their buyers who had not bought this catch wrestling program. And so this is for a DVD series. But this sent people to a landing page that talked about this one secret move, this secret catch wrestling move, which I don't fully understand, but that's not the point. And so this is kind of top benefit, right? Like what is somebody who's into BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which, by the way, Ezra is into BJJ. Quick funny story. I flew out to meet with Ezra, stayed at his place for a while. We were kind of working on planning for this course and shooting some videos and stuff like that. And so he taught me some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu moves, and it was pretty fantastic. I'm quite a bit taller than Ezra. I outweigh him by a lot, but dude's got some Jiu-Jitsu moves, and I don't. So that was entertaining. But this is a fanatical group, like people that love BJJ. They absolutely love it. And so this ad was all, dominate opponents with one secret move. Now, what does that do? That taps into this big benefit. I want to dominate my opponents. I want to be a feared dude on the mat, right? Feared dude in the ring. And there's this secret move. And then that implies, hey, you probably don't know this move. And other people don't know this move because in the subheadline, your opponents can't handle it, right? So this ad worked really well, had a great click-through rate, even to top-of-funnel people. And we still targeted people that were interested in BJJ and some other stuff. We'll get into that in the prospecting session, but this headline absolutely worked. And then we're going to go news and curiosity here. So this is our beloved Boom. So here are 3 ads. Now these were all used. Google or Ezra uses these ads for top of funnel and for remarketing. Both are similar ads. But this is looking at 5 makeup tips for older women. So this is taking someone who's been to the site, they've engaged a little bit, but they haven't purchased. These ads then send them to that pre-sale engagement page. Actually converts very well for Ezra. I know a lot of you have seen that. But let's talk about these ads. So you always want to be testing, right? If we look at these ads, these are all pretty cool, right? Love the cartoons, love that look, love the picture of Cindy. So just a quick poll, because I think it's always fascinating to see what ad we think will work best and if it actually does work best. So one of these ads was a clear winner. I'll show you the data in just a minute. One of these ads was a clear winner. Type in the chat, which ad do you think was the winner out of these 3? One was very, very clear. Which ad do you think it was? A little bit of diversity here. We had some people saying middle, so the ad was Cindy. Got some people saying 3, some people 2, some people left, real pick. Okay, so a few more people saying the real pick of Cindy is the winner. So okay, let's actually look at the data here. So here is this particular ad. I think it's kind of fun, right? Get the lady, the gray-haired lady there putting on the makeup. And so this got 52 conversions, cost of $93 per conversion. Decent CTR, right? Not bad, 0.51%. So, like I said, with display, if you're pushing 1%, you're getting an awesome click-through rate. You see all the campaigns or all the ad groups together. Only a 0.31% CTR. So this is not bad. So that ad, not too shabby. Let's take a look at this ad. A little bit better in terms of CTR. A little bit better in terms of conversion rate. So 90 conversions. $91 cost per conversion, 0.74 CTR, which is dang good, man. For display remarketing, 0.74% is really good. But many of you were correct. The ad with Cindy was the clear winner. Now, what's interesting, the CTR on this ad is not as good. But look at that cost per conversion. So $45 cost per conversion, a conversion rate of 3.4%, just off the charts. 1,800 conversions. This ad was the clear winner in this campaign when it was running, and so that's the one we would want to push and would want to use. And so that's what I would want to go with. I want to go back here to AdWords and show you a couple things on ad rotation, because this is important. We kind of skipped the ad building part because I wanted to show that piece before we looked at ad building. I'm going to go ahead and find that test campaign so that we can dig into some of the settings here. So I'm going to go and find the test here. So here we go. All right. So we got our campaign here. So we got our ad group. And this is where we're going to look at creating an ad. So now we're gonna create our ad. This is where we want to create an image ad. And as you create that, we're going to want to look at upload an ad. But actually, let me just show you this. So we're not going to necessarily want to use this, but I'll just show you how it works. It's going to give you suggestions on what ads could look like. So it's going to actually pull images, and you can start working through what these ads look like. This may take a little while to load, especially with the webinar. So what we'd want to do here, okay, so here we go. So, this is where we come up with our headline, description. This actually could work decently well. I mean, it's a great picture of Cindy. If you had a good headline, good description, good offer, this could work. And so what we'd do here then is we'd pick our ad rotation. And so usually what we want to do is rotate ads evenly. So if we upload 3 ads, we want to rotate those evenly. And there's an option where you can rotate them evenly for 90 days. That's typically what we choose. And so what Google's going to do then is they're going to show those ads relatively evenly, and then you can watch and see which one performs better, just like we looked at with those 3 previous ads. And you can either adjust or pause the ones that are not performing. What can happen, we've seen that if you just let Google pick automatically, sometimes they'll pick a little prematurely. Sometimes they'll favor one ad over all the others, and they'll do that kind of quickly. All the automated stuff with Google is getting better all the time. So that option will likely be pretty decent in the coming days. But I still like to rotate things evenly and then choose, once we see results, once we get decent data on each of those ads, then we can start to adjust and pick, which ad we want to favor and potentially pause some of the other ads. So let's do this. I do have screenshots on most of this. Obviously, this recording will be available. A couple of other things to look at really quickly. And so get your questions ready. In fact, if you want to start typing those in so we're ready to rock in just a minute, that would be fantastic. I do want you to think about, just start analyzing some ads that you see and which ones compel you to potentially click. So I was on this site that one of our team members sent today, which is kind of funny. So we're in the Midwest, we're in Springfield, Missouri. I don't know where you are or if anyone ever uses the term OPE. It's kind of like an O or oops, but it's OPE. Like, so you run into someone, you say, oh, sorry. Anyway, it's used a lot in the Midwest. I don't know why. Who knows where that came from? But this was a page talking all about OPE. So it's a Twitter account for the word OPE. And then, as you can see, there's lots of ads here. So, looking at this, like, what would you be likely to click? Perfect gift show love with this metallic dress. I'm not likely to click on that. Maybe something like this, trending, unique, curated gifts. Now, if this was a site that I had been to, especially, and now they're showing me, hey, these are the trending gifts. Like, if you're wanting to buy a gift from our site, these are the ones to look at. Last holiday season, we worked with a company that sells educational gifts, educational toys, and we helped them have a record online holiday. And so that's where a lot of people coming to that site were buying gifts for other people. And so that's one where if you're running an ad saying, hey, trending educational gifts, here are the gifts that are hot right now, click here to check it out. That's going to be a pretty compelling ad to look at. And so here is what I want to look at in terms of measuring success. So we'll talk about this, and then we'll dive into your questions. So I've got about 5 or 6 minutes, and then we'll have some time for Q&A, maybe closer to 10 to kind of wrap this up. So, what I recommend for everybody when you're measuring success, you need to have a return on ad spend target or a CPA target, cost per acquisition target. I usually like the return on ad spend target because return on ad spend takes into account the value of the transaction. So return on ad spend is a very simple calculation. It's just conversion value divided by cost. So if you got $100 in sales and you spent $50 to get it, so $100 is your conversion value, $50 is your cost. ROAS is just 100 divided by 50, or 2. 2 would be your ROAS. It's or 200% return on ad spend. That's what that calculation figures. And so what I like about that is, especially, if you're the type of merchant where there's a decent variance. Everybody has an average order value, but maybe your variance is decent, where some transactions are $50, some are $300. And then return on ad spend makes a lot of sense, right? CPA target works just fine if you've got a really consistent average order value. So we have talked to some clients that really all their purchases are pretty similar, like the median for all their purchases are pretty similar. So maybe in that case, CPA target is what you want. And so then you can look at that. So you're going to want to set a CPA target or ROAS target and then optimize against that. But here's what you have to consider as well, in my opinion, is you need to look at view-through conversions. So direct conversions, and we talked about this a little bit in Module 1, but direct conversions, those are people that click on the ad and they buy right away. So I see the ad, I click on it, I buy. that's a direct conversion or a last click conversion. A view through conversion, that's where somebody sees the ad. So the ad is displayed on a page that they're visiting online. They do not click on it, but then within a given window, whether that's 1 day or a few days or whatever, you can actually pick that, then they actually do convert. Now, I'm a believer in measuring view through conversions because think about the purpose of remarketing. The purpose of remarketing is, if someone's in that awareness stage or evaluation stage, kind of the top areas, top and middle of the funnel, when they visit your site, they're likely not buying right now. They're going to go, they're going to check out other options, they're going to click around. We're working with a client that sells home appliances. And so, if I'm buying a vacuum or I'm buying an electric tea kettle or something like that, I'm probably going to shop around unless, I'm working on a personal recommendation or whatever. I've already got that narrowed down. But usually I'm going to be clicking around and looking at options. So you want to measure that view through conversion, because the whole purpose of the remarketing campaign is after I've visited the site, now I'm maybe going about my business. I wasn't able to check out. Now I'm cruising the web. I want to at least have a visual reminder of your brand and of your product. Because, hey, maybe I looked at 10 different electric kettles, and now I need to see yours again before I go purchase. Think about someone's behavior. If I'm on a news site, right, I'm checking the scores. I am a Kansas City Chiefs fan, which is very painful right now. For those that follow the NFL, my beloved Chiefs are on a free fall. Started 5-0 and have since gone 1-6. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But if I'm on a site looking at how woeful the Chiefs are right now, I may be all in on just reading and watching videos about the Chiefs. So if I see your ad for your electric kettle there on NFL.com, I may not click on it, but that's planting the seed that, hey, that's right, I didn't buy that kettle. I need to go back and look for it later. So I like to measure view through conversions, especially on display and on YouTube. And then now we're going to get into a really cool feature, that I'm guessing a lot of you don't know about. Where you can create a custom column inside of AdWords. So actually, I've got screenshots of this. See how I'm doing on time. Yeah, doing okay. Let me pop over here and show you what this looks like as well. So exit out of here. And so we're gonna go back to our campaigns. And actually, let me pause this here while I navigate and get to it really quickly. So what we're doing here, in AdWords, you can pull in and kind of customize your columns and get any metric basically you want to see. But there are some kind of standard metrics where I can see view through conversions, I can see direct conversions, I can see things like cost per conversion or return on ad spend. But what if I want to see something custom? So what if I want to see, hey, in my opinion, like I want to be aggressive, I want to show up, I want to bid more, I just want to be aggressive on my remarketing. Maybe I want to look at a metric of combining view through conversions and direct conversions, and then I want to create some kind of target there. So let's look at a campaign here that's already built, and let's look at our columns here. 1 second, I'm going to turn this back on. Just bear with me for 1 second here. Okay, so here we go. Show my screen again. So here we go. Looking at this campaign and looking at some of our metrics here. And so this viewed cart 15 days, 5 conversions. These are direct conversions. So someone clicked on the ad, converted right away. $89 cost per conversion. Now, this also had 17 view through conversions. So someone that saw the ad and then purchased within our given window. Now this is where we got something kind of cool going on here. This is how you create this is a custom calculation. So here's what I did really quickly, kind of cool. So if we go to columns, this is where you can add in other columns. So if I wanted to see impression share or other columns where I do that, so I'm going to click modify columns. That's where you can choose all kinds of other stuff. We'll get into more of these as we go in through other sessions. But what I did here is I created a custom column, okay? And so I'm just going to show you this. So you see what I did. I'm going to edit it. So basically I named it. This is combined CPA, view through plus direct conversion. So here's what I did. If you just start typing here, it's going to give you the option. So cost per acquisition is just cost divided by conversions, right? So cost divided by number of conversions. Well, in this case, I wanted to do cost divided by a combination of view through conversions and conversions. So to complete this, I would just type in conversions, not to give you like flashbacks to math class, but since we do want to get the total here and then divide that total by cost, you do need to put the brackets there, parentheses, so that the formula works that these two conversions are added together and then taking cost divided by that total. So that's what that is, and that's how that works. Pretty sweet. You can also kind of imagine there are other things you can look at. So as an example, looking at this ad group at $89 cost per conversion, maybe I'm not too excited. I mean, in fact, I know I'm not excited on this one. But at $20, then maybe I am. Now, one caveat, a view through conversion maybe isn't as powerful as a direct conversion. So maybe you want to, if your CPA target here is $60, maybe your CPA target here is more like 30. So maybe it's not quite the same, because you want to count a view through conversion, maybe don't value it as much. So anyway, powerful stuff to measure. You do need to look at direct conversions and view through conversions, and then look at, this is a CPA target because that works for ES and Boom, but you may want to look at a target ROAS. And just so you know, to add in target ROAS, or to add in return on ad spend, modify columns, it's conversions, and then it's conversion value divided by cost. That's return on ad spend. That's how it's labeled in AdWords. So there we go. That does it for today. Like I said, we do have lots of screenshots and stuff we'll share. This recording will be available. Let's dig into Q&A. I do want to mention one last thing. Device bid adjustments. You can bid up or down based on whether someone's on a mobile device, tablet, desktop. In the beginning, I advise you don't really make any bid adjustments, right? Again, since this is just a remarketing list, I want to kind of show up for everybody that's been to my site or everybody that's taken certain actions on my site. But as you go, as you see, we'll look at how to measure performance by device type as we go throughout these sessions. You may want to offer some bid adjustments or make some bid adjustments by device. So, okay, let's dive into Q&A. Let's have some fun here. All right, let's see. Got to get where I can actually read these. Okay, so here we go. Say with the $1 per click, is it worth running remarketing ads when your products are inexpensive, $10 average, or use Google Shopping instead? Great question. Yeah, so in this case, you're going to need to really look at, I want to look at your margins, right? So if $10 is the cost of the product, the nice thing is, with a $10 product, you're going to have more impulse purchases, right? I may not need to do all the crazy evaluation and comparing your product versus your competitors if I'm just paying $10. So you're going to have more direct conversions from places like Google Shopping and search. So I'd want to know, what are your margins on that? So if it's 50% margin, you got up to $5 you could spend on that sale as an example. I then wanted to kind of back into it. So if I've got $5 in available margin, I want to look at what is my conversion rate. If my conversion rate is, say, 3%, then I should know that for every 33 clicks on average, I should get one conversion. So if I'm willing to pay up to $5 per conversion, I'm willing to pay $5 for 33 clicks. Is that making sense? If I'm not going too fast. So then I take $5 divided by 33 cents, and I'm sorry, $5 divided by 33, and get my number, which I'm going to figure right now. I used to be good at math in my head, and now I've had too many kids or something, I don't know. So that'd be 15 cents. So you're going to be bidding a lot less. So yeah, you're going to want to bid less. Google Shopping, maybe my second favorite session, maybe first, I don't know. Google Shopping is kind of one of my claims to fame, so maybe I should make it my favorite session. You'll be able to do a lot with Google Shopping. I would still run display remarketing. You just have to bid really low, and that's going to maybe limit the sites you'll show up on. You may not get a lot of traffic, but I just back into the numbers, look at what are you able to spend, and then bid that. Worst case is you just don't get any impressions or clicks. So Yep. So conversions, we did set that up in the first training. And so again, I like to use Google Analytics. There are different ways to measure conversions. You can get a code from Google AdWords, and then the way that works, that conversion code from AdWords, you have to add into each confirmation page. So you gotta label each conversion, get a new code for it, put it on the confirmation page for each goal, or you can use Google Analytics, and then it's just one code. It's on every site. Then you just create, what that goal should look like. If you turn on e-commerce settings in Analytics, which we covered in session 1, then that will track transactions immediately, and so then you're good to go. All right. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, okay, this is a great question. So with the $1,000 minimum requirement list size, to grow most of your targeted lists, especially for specific products, it would seem you have to extend beyond the 30 days. Yes, that's not counterproductive for retargeting necessarily. Here's where it's a little bit different. So for your purchase list, yes, I would still consider creating those shorter windows, because then you can kind of look at how each audience performs. But yeah, some of these you're going to want to make larger, especially for any of your like seasonal campaigns. So if I'm doing a monthly special, so now I'm launching the candy cane, coffee, which I hear is popular. Not for me maybe, but some people like it. I'm not a huge candy cane fan. Then I maybe want to look at, hey, all buyers of the last year, why not? Let's let them know that, hey, the candy cane coffee is back and you should check it out. So definitely consider those windows. If you're really trying to hammer the cart visitors, those narrower lists do convert better. So that 7-day list is going to convert better than the 14-day. 14 days is going to convert better than 30. 30 is going to convert better than the 90. But you are right, with smaller lists, you do need larger durations. So, Broncos fan, man, I'm sorry. Yeah, what's up with the AFC West, man? We're supposed to dominate. Now everybody's tanking. Just the craziest thing. Okay. Yeah, so individual ads for individual products, it's going to depend a little bit. So if you've got a lot of SKUs, right? So if you've got dozens of products, hundreds of products, especially if you have thousands of products, that's where we got to run dynamic remarketing. I'm going to suggest you probably do dynamic remarketing anyway if you just have a handful, but that's probably going to be your focus if you have a lot of products. If you just have a few, or if you want to create upsell ads like we talked about, or bought X but not Y, so maybe I've purchased something from Boom but I have not bought cotton, then I want an individual ad, individual product ad. But a lot of times we're just running an ad that is promoting an offer, promoting a sale. I'll mention this again in the dynamic remarketing portion, which is session 3. But we had a client that sold remote control car parts, so like tires, axles, things like that for remote control trucks and cars. Also sold parts for quadcopters, and we found dynamic remarketing didn't work very well for them. And we figured part of the reason was some of the images were really boring. Like taking a picture of a remote control car axle is wicked boring. That's not why someone goes to buy an axle, right? So instead, we turned off dynamic remarketing and just showed these ads of like a truck ramping, over this dirt ramp, and people shredding dirt, and then had a real fun title, and hey, get back on the road, save 10%, and that did much better. So it's going to kind of depend. And so let's see. Yeah, say question before. Okay, here we go. For creating ads, is there a better return if you have them designed over using the Google Designer? We've done both. So, really what makes a difference. Oh, and I hear you, Ed. Go Rams, man. A lot of my friends. I'm here in Missouri. A lot of my friends were bummed to see the Rams go, but man, what a surprise! They're turning it up. We've done it both ways. We've used the Google Designer, and if you got a good image and a good offer like that ad we were getting ready to create in the Designer for Boom, that was interesting, and actually I think that could have worked. Like, I love that picture they selected of Cindy with a good headline. It could have worked. I tend to favor having them designed, but man, do whatever you're able to do. We've run some we got a furniture client that wanted to test a bunch of things. We used the Google Designer, and we had some great results. So I tend to kind of be I like to design it, like to have my designer crank it out. But yeah, you can actually do both. Okay, let's see what else. Here we go. Your cost per conversions for Boom seem fairly high. Is your strategy geared more towards lifetime value of a customer? Yeah. And so one of the things too that I was not really paying attention to there was which campaign I selected, and how we're bidding on that strategy. So first of all, we do like to look at direct conversions and view through conversions. So that combined number is more important to us for these campaigns. But yeah, we are looking at the lifetime value, and absolutely, Ezra's got this dialed in. He's got it as a science. So hey, I know if I pay X for a conversion, I know that I'm going to be able to keep so many of those people are going to buy again, and then it's all going to make a sense. It's all gonna add up in the end. So okay, let's see here. Did we miss anything? Any other questions? Looks like we're so maybe. Uh, Thomas, he said, "Kids will do it, brother. I used to have a six-pack of abs." I hear you on that, man. I'm trying to go back to those days. So, fun little side note. I'm just gonna wait for other questions to pop in. Oh, hey, Matson says he likes the podcast. Thanks, man. Yeah, so check out the podcast, E-commerce Evolution. By the way, you guys are all merchants. I would love to feature more merchants on my podcast, so just a little bonus for you guys. If you'd like to be on the podcast, I can interview you, tell your story, maybe get you a little exposure. Hit me up if that is of interest to you. But by the way, for those that don't know, I have 8, count them, 8 children. I'm not Amish, nor am I Catholic or Mormon. Just have a lot of kids. So there we go. Here we go. I'm switching from SendOwl to WooCommerce, both are tracking conversions, but there's no cart with SendOwl. Should I set up remarketing based on transactions? Yeah, you certainly could. I don't know SendOwl. I'm not familiar with it, so I'm not sure I'm fully picturing what's going on there. So I don't know for sure, but you can build remarketing lists based on, a goal completion. So a goal completion could be, I signed up, and analytics can track a goal based on a page someone lands on. So your confirmation page, that could trigger a goal. So that option is going to be available no matter what. And so yeah, hopefully that kind of answers that question. I'm not, like I said, I'll have to look at SendOwl and see what that is. But you can, if you're using analytics, if you got access to analytics, you can still create those unique goals. With Facebook, there are a lot of restrictions, like how much text can be on ads. No restrictions. So yeah, it's a great question. So yeah, with Facebook, you can only have, what is it, like 20% of the ad, I think it is. 20% of the ad can have text, rest has to be an image. Google Display Network does not care so much, so you can have quite a bit of text. If you look back to that BJJ Fanatics ad, that had quite a bit of text. I mean, it had the dude, right? The dude that was teaching the course. He was big and flexing, and so that got attention, but then there was a decent amount of copy, so that was good. All right, next question. Do these campaigns have to optimize? If you edit the name or any details, will it throw off? Oh, no. Okay, great. So super question. If you change the name or any details, will it throw it out of whack, like what happens on Facebook? So there are definitely things you can change that will mess with your performance. But the beautiful part about this is Google does track performance, and they don't really care what you name the campaign. So you rename the campaign, Google AdWords is pretty smart. They know what that campaign is. It still retains the history. So say we come in, we'll do this sometimes. We're managing someone's account. We'll come in and we'll take an existing campaign. We'll add a lot of things to it, clean it up, and then rename it so that it's clearer. Like, so, sometimes we come in and take over an account, and the naming convention doesn't make any sense. We'll kind of work on renaming it. That does not reset the ad at all, or does not reset the campaign at all. As you create a new ad, or a new ad group, those kind of start from scratch. But if they're created in a campaign that has some history, that can actually help it. So that's one difference then with Google AdWords from Facebook. So we've just got a couple minutes left. This webinar will self-destruct, I am told, or end automatically, however you want to look at it. So let's see, we got maybe time for one more question. Here we go. So in Google Analytics, conversions, top paths, I'm getting a lot of unavailable tags showing. What does this mean, and how can I fix this? If you would, that is interesting. I would kind of want to see a screenshot potentially and see, so that there may be some things fundamentally wrong with how you've got analytics plugged into the site, but I kind of want to see a screenshot of that. That's a lot easier to troubleshoot with a screenshot. I'm not sure if there's a way that we can get that in, but would like to see that. Last question, this will be the last one. What's an average CTR for Google Shopping on search, not remarketing? Yeah, fantastic question. So, man, this varies so much, It is usually less than search ads. So search ads would be text ads. For text ads, I'm often wanting like a 3% click-through rate or higher for search ads, because if it's lower than that, that's going to impact your quality score. We'll get into that next session, what quality score is and all that. But for Google Shopping, it's going to be very dependent on keyword as well. So we'll show you how to break that all down. But I would not get as hung up on click-through rate for Google Shopping as I would looking at conversion rate and ROAS. That said, if your click-through rate is sub 1 on Google Shopping, there's usually an issue. So almost always it's over 1. So like 2 to 3 is pretty average for Google Shopping. So if you're sub 1% for Google Shopping, then likely either you've got bad images or bad price or something like that. So we'll break that all down in the Google Shopping session. So with that is a wrap, folks. That's right at 90 minutes. Thank you. Everybody stuck around, man. We only lost a couple people, which is great. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for your attention. As always, this will be posted in the members area. We'll have accompanying resources to go with this so you can see it. We do value your feedback. So please, when you get the email with feedback, share some things. So there's going to be questions like, hey, what was confusing? What would you like to see more of, less of, things like that. So and then what you ask for, we're going to deliver on. So that will be in the actual finished version of this. We get to enjoy that then as well. So we'd love your feedback. And so with that, we will see you, I believe it's next Thursday is our next session. And the next session, we're digging into branded search, I believe, which is going to be awesome. So looking forward to it. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one, and we'll see you next time.